back. Today we're with Tony Abruscato, and he is a very special guest because he's bringing in the spring. We're tired of winter, and Tony is the head of the Chicago Flower and Garden Show and is going to show us all about green and gardening.
Hey, Tony, this is Rich Christakis. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for coming on. We're honored to have you as a guest, and we're very excited. You know, the Flower and Garden Show, the Chicago Flower and Garden Show, is a longtime tradition. I go to it every year. I take my wife every year, and so I'm very impressed with what you guys do. And I've never met you in person, but I got to say, you know, kudos to you, everything you guys got going on. And I see that things seem to be changing at the Chicago Flower and Garden Show. I'm presuming for the better. And, you know, in regards to, I hear you guys are making it a lot more sustainable. And how are you doing that? And how does that work?
Well, you know, that's one of the things. The show's been around since 1847. We're the oldest event in the state of Illinois and city of Chicago. And so you have to do things to make it relevant. And so one of the things we're focusing on is green and sustainability and a lot on education, cultivating the next generation of gardener as we go through. So we've made some internal changes at the show where we're being greener, and we're more conscious of the environment with targeted floor planning and no idling zones, and reusing and repurposing plant material and hardscapes from year to year, so that we're doing it internally, but then out to the consumer, we're also giving them ideas about what they can do in their own green space that are more green and more sustainable, native plants, water permeable pavers, rain barrels, and showing people what they can do. And I think that's the key of the future of flower and garden shows, that you'll see that instead of just something pretty to come and look at and then go lunch, go shop on Michigan Avenue, specifically in Chicago, that you'll be able to go home with information that'll impact your own environment.
The improvements that you've made at the Chicago Flower and Garden Show, in my mindset, have been all focused on education. When I go to the show, I actually learn something new. And so, you know, I'm interested on how the displays are going to be focused on education. What are you doing specifically with the displays?
You know, we're working very closely with the garden builders about, there's three areas we're really basing. When I purchased the show in 2011, that we had three basic pillars: inspire, educate, and motivate. How can you inspire the consumer with what they see? How can you educate them about what or how they can do it in their own space? And then motivate someone to actually do something in that space. So we're talking with the different builders about how they can inspire, educate, and motivate. So it may be, we're working with some folks right now that are doing all containers. And so they're showing people how they can do containers in a small space or an urban setting, but also those containers including vegetables and herbs, so they're just not floral containers. We're talking with people about, I mentioned the roses and how we can use Weeks roses and star roses so that they're less, fraught by disease, which is one of the difficulties. We're talking with people about, we've got NPL, which is a Northern Pipeline, and this is going to sound a little strange, but Northern Pipeline does the construction work for the utility companies, for Peoples Gas, North Shore Gas, and for Nicor Gas. And they're actually coming in, and Christy Weber is building this spectacular garden for them. But they're showing to the consumer how they're redoing all of the pipelines and gas lines that are affecting people's parkways and their yards.
Wow.
But also educating them about, you know, those pipes are only about 2 feet down. So when you're going to plant up a big spruce tree or a maple tree or doing something, you know, it's the whole idea of call before you dig.
Yeah.
And so that educational aspect of letting people know that that's what's out there. And that's something that's really neat for us and really new, that companies are using now the Flower and Garden Show for a public safety and public interest messaging out to the consumer, but it's also green and sustainable, because now they're talking about all the things that they're doing as a company to be more green and more sustainable, and what you can do in your own yard.
That's awesome. You know, one of the goals of the Good Green Home Show with Rich and Shawna here is actually, you know, not just to teach sustainable gardening and sustainable living, but also to educate the next generation of gardeners so that they don't lose that education and there's not that disconnect going from, you know, the school system and then going into getting trained to just buying everything at the mass merchant or the box store. We want to make sure that that next generation gets educated. So it sounds like you guys are definitely doing your part in making sure that that happens.
One of the things I always talk about, and especially to the industry people, is that we have to cultivate the next generation of gardener,
Yep.
and then that also is slash consumer,
Yes.
because as owning greenhouses and garden centers, that that's key. If people aren't interested in gardening and they're not interested in flowers and doing all those things, it has a negative. Not only does it have a negative impact on the environment and what's happening around us, but certainly the industry as a whole, and not just the flower and garden show, but the industry as a whole. And so we also find the American Heart Association has studies out that if you get kids interested in gardening at a young age and growing their own vegetables, that they're more inclined to eat that good food when they're younger, but also eat it throughout the rest of their life and have
Yes.
a healthier lifestyle. And that's really one of our goals at the show too, is all about that healthier lifestyle, active living, growing your own vegetables. And so was excited when you were telling me about the format of the show, because again, it's very synergistic to what we're trying to do and what the industry should be trying to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tony, we are so grateful that you came on the show today, and that you're going to see both of us at the Chicago Flower and Garden Show. We can't wait for the spring to hit us, and definitely to come out and learn a little bit more and be a little greener.
Thanks for coming
Well,
on,
I
Tony.
appreciate it very much, and it's always great to talk with you and talk about gardening. And you can tell I get a little amped up when I
We all
bring
do.
in these next generations. That's key, and it's and it's key. And I'm so excited about this opportunity to talk with you and hopefully drive some people into the show.
You got it.
Awesome.
Well, you have a great day, Tony, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
Oh,
Tony.
thank you.
Are you an organic gardener? Finally, there is a fast-working and effective all-organic insect control available from Bonide. Bonide's Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew is the answer to all your garden insect problems. Captain Jack's works two ways, on contact or when the insect feeds. This will ensure that your insect problems are over. Captain Jack's controls all types of insects, including caterpillars, beetles, spider mites, borers, and more. Use it on vegetables, flowers, berries, trees, shrubs, and fruit. Captain Jack's all-organic insect control is available in easy-to-use dust, liquid concentrate, ready-to-use, and ready-to-spray containers with built-in spray applicator. Pick up some Bonide's Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew today.
Available at Alsop Nursery in St. John, Indiana and Frankfort, Illinois.